Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to the 5th part of my Vampire Month series on this channel, a series that I am doing in order to celebrate Spooky Month. Last week's video was about the film Suck, a film about a band struggling with both making it big and vampire-related shenanigans. Today we are going to be discussing Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter. I think you can tell what kind of film this is going to be from the title. Without further ado, on with the review. I don't even remember where I originally discovered this film, to be honest. All I know is that I was completely dumbfounded by the title alone. Just to preface my commentary, this movie has very low production value, so get ready for low quality visuals and audio from this film. The film opens with some shots of a city and people protesting about Jesus, all while there are clips of people shouting about God overlaid on top of each other.
You're endless, shameless sin!
Are you there, God?
It sounds pretty annoying, honestly. Then, this preacher character breaks the fourth wall and starts addressing the audience directly about how this movie reflects how God is always there for us or something, ending with a Bible quote. We then get some opening credits, and to be honest, I really like the way they look with the filtered photographs of the characters. A woman is getting something from her car and is then bitten by a vampire called Maxine Schreck. I assume that this is a reference to Max Schreck, the name of the actor who played Count Orlok in Nosferatu. The wound on the victim's neck isn't very convincing, but the blood looks okay for a low-budget movie. Maxine then steals her car as dawn arrives, shown through sped-up footage of the sky. She then puts sunglasses on and steps outside in the day. This is explained later, but on first-time viewing, it's very confusing as you would assume that she'd be burning up. She then gets on the phone and says this line?
Where have all our lesbians gone?
Girl, what the fuck is you talking about?
What? We're only 5 minutes in and we're already getting nonsense. Two members of the church, Father Eustace and Father Alban, meet in the middle of the street and discuss the little vampire problem their city is having. Father Eustace has a more convincing get-up, and while I think he looks cool, I don't think Father Alban looks too priestly. So, to battle the vampires, Alban and another priest called Avellino summon Jesus Christ, who is apparently just chilling in the modern day, baptizing people, while donning a horrible samurai cop level wig. It doesn't look so bad in these shots, but it's not very convincing at all. The lesbian vampires show up and I kid you not, kick Jesus H. Christ in the nuts.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
They then have a martial arts movie style fight on the beach, full with crappy sound effects, and Jesus orders his mates to bless the lake. Okay, first of all, this looks a lot bigger than a lake, there's even a beach, and two, weren't you baptizing people here a second ago? Shouldn't the water already be blessed? Maxine bites Alban and Avellino, and Jesus does fucking wrestling moves on the other two vamps, landing them in the holy water. Maxine clears off, and Jesus notices that his mates have been killed, so he rides his moped to a barbershop where he gets a new trim. His journey all set to this song.
Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, Thessalonians.
I have no words to describe my reaction to this, and the next segment. Jesus then breaks into song with the surrounding people. What is happening?
You say that you're wounded. To that I say fine. If you show me yours, then I'll show you mine.
I get it.
I don't get it.
Father Eustace shows up and allows Jesus to stay in some accommodation for struggling members of the church.
The church maintains this apartment for visiting clergy members and parishioners in need. You can stay here as long as necessary. I've slept in worse places.
Was that a reference to Jesus being dead for 3 days? We get a Batman-like transition shot into a crucifix, which will appear more as the film goes on, and again, I am left speechless. Eustace confesses to Jesus that many young women from his congregation have been going missing, and even points out Maxine as being among them. He says that the church has been reluctant to help because of the lifestyle of these women, but Jesus tells him that judgment should be left to a higher power. You tell him, J-Man. Jesus also brings up the fact that vampires can now walk in sunlight, and wonders if the two are connected, and buys some wood to fashion some stakes. A gang of atheists, I shit you not, ambush Jesus on his way home, and begin to fight with him. This looks like it was just filmed in a random park, and you can even see civilians hanging around in the background. Towards the end of the fight, Jesus asks if he's real enough for them, and finishes the fight off with this atrocious effect.
I don't believe it.
A girl called Mary Magnum is waiting for Jesus at home, and assuming she's a vampire, he begins to fight with her, although when she defeats him, she reveals that she is actually on his side. She then takes him to a sauna to relax. I assume this character is based on Mary Magdalene, who is a follower of Jesus and also a sex worker, which is probably what this character's last name is a pun on. She goes on into some techno-babble.
More like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
About how vampires are some kind of quantum disease? I don't know, guys, she was talking too fast. They go shopping for new clothes so that Jesus looks less suspicious, and we get an early 2000s clothes trying on montage. I was half expecting him to come out in some kind of astronaut suit or something. Maxine comes into the shop and Jesus and Mary hide in one of the changing stalls. They follow her to a hospital and discover that a doctor named Pretorius is giving vampires skin transplants, allowing them to walk around in the sunlight. You know, this idea isn't terrible and I kinda like it, but what the hell is this guy doing? This is completely immoral and so unhygienic. Talk about medical malpractice. A male vampire comes into the hospital room, soon to be followed by Maxine. Again, hygiene. His name is Johnny Golgotha, which is the name of the place where Jesus is thought to have been crucified. Spooky, everyone, woo! Mary and Jesus follow Maxine and Golgotha to a lesbian drop-in center, where the two vampires are feeding on the poor inhabitants. The attendees' screams seem really fake and looped, and Jesus and Mary just kind of shake the poor woman and push her out of the room. The four main characters then play a game of deathly tag, I suppose. This leads to a fight on the roof where Maxine fights Mary and Jesus fights Golgotha. Ha ha, movie, I see what you're trying to do. Both of our heroes are defeated and Maxine bites Mary. We're around the halfway mark now when the fourth wall breaking preacher from earlier shows up again for a second. Bible quoting again? Whatever, anything goes with this movie at this point and he'll show up again later. Jesus stumbles around the street, asking passers-by for help, and I think what's meant to be a cardinal and some kind of officer ignores him. However, another character which I think is supposed to be a French transgender woman picks him up. Nice Good Samaritan reference movie. I think the Bible references are just gonna keep on coming. The trans lady hits on Jesus while nursing him back to health, but is mostly just helpful before disappearing from the film. Jesus is then seen sharpening steaks before eating lunch in the restaurant from earlier, and is then served some ice cream which talks to him.
You need help, Jesus, and I have not forsaken you.
Oh, it's you, Dad. So what's your advice?
So this is where we're going, movie? This was a cute little gag, and God tells Jesus to enlist the help of a Mexican wrestler named El Santo, or in English, the Saint. God, the cheese. They head to a nightclub where a singer named Blind Jimmy Leper is performing. You know, like how Jesus healed blind people and lepers in the Bible.
Obi, 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 Obi-Wan Kenobi, Obi-Wan Kenobi, oh wow.
Excuse me, what?
Do I even need to say anything at this point? Jimmy tells the audience to give it up for the J-Man, and kinda mumbles over his lines, so that's the only thing I understood. Jesus gets on stage and starts singing himself.
I was born in a manger. Doomed to live in danger.
As you can probably tell, I pulled this face a lot while watching this film.
I don't know.
Jesus then notices in the mirror that most of the club goers, aside from El Santo, are vampires, and so he, El Santo, and Blind Jimmy Leper stake a bunch of them. This included El Santo staking one of them with a toothpick. I mean, it doesn't get sillier than this. El Santo stupidly then tries to confess his love to one of the vampire girls called Maggie, and is knocked out by Maxine using some kind of magical glitter. At home, Jesus is called by his mother, and the interaction is very cute.
Yeah, listen, I really have to go. These vampires
Now you're not letting those boys push you around, are you? They might seem bigger than you now, but who do we always say is going to inherit the earth, dear?
The meek mom.
Mary Magnum, Maxine, and Golgotha show up and fight Jesus, taking him hostage under threat of El Santo's life. They take Jesus to a scrapyard where Eustace reveals that he has been turned into a vampire. Jesus is knocked out and has his limbs tied to 2 cars in opposite directions, and when he wakes, Eustace brags about how vampires are so much cooler than he is.
You really haven't done anything that they haven't, my lord. You rose from the dead, so did they. You promised eternal life, so did they.
The movie then goes the route of how being homophobic isn't very nice, which I could see as the direction they were going in.
Why lesbians? They're deviants. No one will miss them. There's nothing deviant about love.
I'm pretty sappy, so I like this line. El Santo breaks his chains, breaks Maxine's back over his leg, and frees Jesus, who knocks Eustace out with this ridiculous kick. I didn't know Jesus was hypermobile as well. Jesus battles the other vampires, which is now being broadcast on TV, but also shows up in Dr. Praetorius's room to beat him up as he's everywhere. El Santo defeats 2 girl vampires alongside Jesus, and Praetorius uses a patient's intestines as nunchaku, along with her kidneys as boxing gloves, but Jesus cuts his throat before then healing him. Praetorius then eats the girl's heart for God knows what reason, and Eustace awakens and stakes Jesus. A giant beacon of light leaves the wound, reducing Golgotha and Eustace to dust. Jesus heals Mary Magnum, and because she loves Maxine, he heals her too. El Santo and Jesus have managed to heal Maggie with their love as well, so they are able to be together.
But Maggie, aren't you a lesbian?
No, I'm bi.
Yes! Yes!
Ha ha!
Lost. I'm just lost for words. The movie ends with Jesus preaching, and there are some pretty good messages. This movie is exactly what you'd expect it to be based on the premise alone. It's goofy, low budget, absurd crap. The acting is bad, the effects are bad, the dialogue is bad. The whole movie is bad, but it's so entertaining for all the wrong reasons. There's almost always this hilarious apple crunching sound whenever anyone is bitten too. Going into this, I wasn't expecting it to have such a strong characterization of gay people. Jesus is pretty chill about it too. I liked all the biblical references, even the more minor ones, and it's pretty clear that the people who are making this film were having the time of their lives while making it. Well, that's all for this video. Be sure to follow me on social media as they are all linked in my description box. Don't forget to like and subscribe and to leave your thoughts in the comments down below. And as always, thanks for watching.
Spooky for you.